Alright, well, welcome one and all to the finals of the second Reddit Minecraft tournament. So this match is going to be played between Whiskey Brigade and the Caulk blockers, spelled C-A-U-L-K, because they are fantastic, on Arcane Realm. Now, I understand there are some people in the chat, or people who are watching, who may not know what this is. This tournament has been a tournament for the Race for the Wool map format. Race for the Wool is a type of Minecraft map where two teams each occupy their own lane. You can see the lanes on my stream. The lanes are identical to each other, although they are mirror images. And teams are not allowed to leave their lane. And in order to win the match, each team must collect 3 colors of wool from within their lane and return those colors of wool onto their victory monument. And so this map has cyan wool, lime wool, and orange wool. So each team will have to do that. The wools are sort of in dungeons within their lane, and they're going to have to collect resources, craft materials, do everything that you need to do to get through the dungeons and collect the wools. Teams are, again, like I said, not allowed to leave their own lane, but they are allowed to fire arrows back and forth or TNT cannons. And so PvP, or player versus player combat, is a very important part of the match, along with the strategies to gather the wolves from the dungeons. So when the match starts, the teams are going to drop into a little water pool here from their starting boxes, and they are going to move their way down the lane. There are some resources. There's various chests with goodies to help out, but there's also just trees and stone and stuff that the teams can use to craft tools. They're going to have to make their way down the lane. There are some iron blocks down here to help them expedite their resource gathering. Iron blocks and then diamond blocks down here, although there are some mob spawners protecting those blocks. So that's sort of optional blocks that teams can gather. There is a chasm a little bit farther down the lane, which each team will have to build a bridge across if they hope to make it across. Or there are actually some signs enchanted with knockback that teams have used to get across these chasms in the past. There's a tower here with some resources. You saw the victory monument way back there towards the beginning of the map. The first dungeon that each team will, the first dungeon in geographic order at least, that each team will face is a underwater dungeon. So the teams will have to come underwater. There's some mob spawners down here. It's a little bit maze-like, and it can be pretty hard to find your way around, especially because it's it's so dark and everything. And stopping the mobs from spawning can be a challenge. And if you get through this dungeon, there is, if I can get through, there's a fleecy box here. I can just whoops, I can just teleport outside, and that's the fleecy box containing the first wool in the underwater dungeon. Moving on down the lane, there is a sort of swampy, mushroomy area, and underneath that is the second wool dungeon in geographic order. This dungeon is a bit more exposed to the other team because it's bedrock and you can't really dig your way around, so teams may face arrow fire or put on pressure on the other team with arrows in this section. There is some lava that can provide obstacles. And there's also a little trap here. If you don't activate this redstone correctly, some TNT will drop on you. And there are a ton of mob spawners in this area here. There's like 2 of every mob spawner, basically, every aggro mob spawner, and a lot of mobs will spawning. So that can be quite challenging for players to get through. And here's the second wool box, fleecy box. It's got some diamond in it too. And moving on down the lane, there's the march continues. There's a bit of a netherrack section here. There are some zombie pigmen that will spawn in this section, and zombie pigmen, of course, won't attack you until they are attacked themselves. But zombie pigmen have sort of a global function that if any of them get attacked, all of them will go aggressive at all players, and so you can sort of offensively attack the zombie pigmen in order to make them attack opponents on the enemy side, if you're clever. You have to make your way up this huge nether brick staircase, and this is the third world dungeon. It's sort of a volcano. There's lots of unupdated lava blocks. If you update any of these blocks, they can sort of cascade and cause other blocks to get updated, causing a giant mess of lava. And you have to work your way down here, and the third wool is at the end of the lane here. Now, teams aren't allowed to use any means like ender pearls to bypass bedrock barriers, so you actually do have to go through the dungeons in order to, get the wool. Although they are sometimes allowed to place blocks around bedrock, they're just not allowed to teleport. Use those means to get their player bodies teleported. So that's pretty much an overview of the map. There's three wool dungeons that the teams are going to have to face, and it should be really good. Alright, the countdown has started.
Here we go.
Or maybe.
Neither team has pressed...
There's some broken redstone here.
Oh, no.
My.
No.
Okay. Well, the match has now started. Hopefully that didn't cause any team to become too discombobulated. I think CB's got out a little bit faster, but not a huge deal.
I'm wondering who's going to die first.
Looks like the CBs are springing ahead. They are making use of that efficiency 10 pickaxe.
Author Blues moved to reps.
Yeah, looks like Gramps is going down probably to grab... Oh, yeah, to grab some iron very quickly.
Moved to lane number 2.
Now Nika, it looks like, is trying to build a bridge, although he's getting shot a lot. Oh, I see. Yeah, Nika, they were trying... I think Solitary Wolf was trying to hit Nika across the chasm using the knockback sign, but didn't quite make it.
Yeah, sometimes that will fail. Interestingly enough, this is the strategy we first saw employed by Whiskey Brigade, who doesn't seem to be using it today.
Right. Well, they may yet, but looks like pretty much all of the CBs have actually been killed by Whiskey Brigade. So not the best start for the CBs. Rixiot, a very good archer.
Except for Gramps, who did make it to the supply room and will likely be making supplies, so this may not be too much of a setback.
Right. Yeah, the CBs do have a bit of a head start on collecting their resources. Traslander actually digging down a bit. Oh! Wow, I just missed a big TNT cannon by the Whiskey Brigade side.
Gold swords everywhere.
Yep, they're shooting a bit more too.
They made some small modifications to this cannon so that it will shoot up and double shots.
Yeah, I think they're trying to take out a bunch of the supplies up in the brick tower. Seems pretty effective. Gramps is now making his way... he's actually... Did Gramps die? Gramps may have died.
He hit the ground too hard somewhere.
Huh. I'm not sure where that happened. He may have been carrying all the resources when he did die. I'm not sure what happened to the iron for the CB side.
Yeah, I'm looking around for where he might have splatted, but I'm not seeing any floaty supplies.
Rixiot still holding down the fort in terms of PvP pressure. And still more TNT fire going off. It looks like Whiskey Brigade is essentially trying to create a giant chasm on the CB side, and it's working pretty well. They may actually be able to make the chasm all the way across and just make it really hard for the CBs to cross. Once again, MK falls down a little bit as they use the sign trick to get across the chasm. No bridges built across this chasm yet. But MK
they have a...
Ooh, MK failed to sprint jump across a little gap, and that could be pretty big. As
This
go ahead.
this cannon has managed to dig a hole through the lane here.
Now it is still possible to get across for the CBs, but yeah, it's going to be yet another chasm that they'll have to make their way across, which is not necessarily the easiest.
And when night hits, mobs will spawn
yeah.
down here. It'll be nasty.
Gramp shot once again. I see he was carrying a lot of potions and also the iron blocks and a bunch of supplies. So Gramps has not yet succeeded in making a supply run down there, which and basically the CBs are having a really hard time getting across now. Solitary Wolf trying to build a bridge across the chasm, made it a little over halfway, and then he was shot off by Rixiot. I don't believe that's going to be a sprintable gap though, so they will have to add more blocks to that bridge before continuing. The ghast has been spawned.
Are they going to do their gas
It looks
trick?
like it's suffocating, so I'm not sure what the purpose was there, but it didn't quite work out. Each team gets a ghast egg on their side, so.
And we saw Whiskey Brigade use this as a turret, and they would it would fire at the enemy lane, and then they would hit the gas shots in midair with arrows to sort of direct them to various points.
Right, but not this time. The gas suffocated. It looks like they may have placed it incorrectly. MK using a boat to get across the water above the first dungeon. He's moving a bit
Nika
farther
of the
down
CBs has made it all the way to the volcano, and may be getting prepped for a run on the orange wall.
Yeah, so he was able to make the orange wall run very quickly last time we played this map. MK leaving the match for some reason, may be having connection problems, or maybe just a chunk wasn't loading. Ooh, MK almost got knocked out of the lane by a little bit of water flow. Meanwhile, Gramps is back down in the basement, trying to grab supplies. Looks like he may be crafting armor finally, so this may be his chance to make it back up safely with all those supplies. Those supplies are going to be pretty critical, I think. The armor is very useful. Yeah, this chasm that was created by Whiskey Brigade on the CB side is quite impressive, but the CBs do actually seem to just be jumping across the chasm with the blocks that are remaining, so it's not too much of an impediment. Okay, so we are seeing Whiskey Brigade employ the same trick that Musclecraft just employed on this map, using TNT to actually blow up the chest with wool. This is not illegal. It is illegal to blow up the opponent's wool, but not your own. And he will be gathering that wool, I believe, through a small hole in some of the bedrock.
I had a short technical glitch there. My internet decided to explode, but Nika has retrieved the orange wool.
Yep. The cyan wool has now been retrieved by Whiskey Brigade. I would not be surprised to see the CBs eventually employ the same trick. Although it may be a little bit harder for them because of this giant chasm that's been created by the TNT cannons from Whiskey Brigade. Looks like the second wool dungeons are untouched for both teams. Oh, no, just as I say that, I see some water starting to flow down through the second wool dungeon. That is going to update the trap on the CB side. But it doesn't look like actually anyone is attempting it. It may have been actually a creeper blast that caused that hole.
Have you guys? Are you guys aware that the cockblockers have the third wool and are making their way back out? And it looks like the Whiskey Brigade has actually nabbed the first one already.
Yep, I just saw that.
Nika just hopped out after placing the orange wool inside of a chest, which will be able to be picked up from the other side.
I see Jakash for Whiskey Brigade wearing some iron armor. So it looks like Whiskey Brigade has successfully grabbed some of that iron from, not from the beginning of the map, I'm not sure where actually, but they do
looks
have
like MK,
some iron armor.
Looks like MK will be picking up the orange wool from where Nika left it.
Now, did you guys happen to see the cannon race for the diamonds down at the beginning of the map?
No.
There's a showdown between Gramps and I believe it was Traslander as they tried to get the diamonds out of there before Traz could blow up the Cockblocker side. And they managed to get like one block of diamond, I think, before they blew up the rest of them, with Gramps actually in the room.
Detroit, I'm someone's chatting my stream. There may be problems with your stream, so you may want to check on that.
Yeah, I've had to bounce it twice, but I think it's working now.
Okay.
Dire_dwarf moved to lane number 2.
If it's still not working, please refresh.
Alright, still no action on the Caulk blocker side for the first wool dungeon. I don't believe either team has touched their second wool dungeon, really. Oh. No, not quite. First night is approaching, so teams will have a chance to set their spawn, but also there will be a lot more mob spawning, and we'll see which team actually managed to light up their side with torches and which team didn't. I'm actually not seeing a ton of torches for either team up at the top of the map, so teams may be facing some additional mob pressure. It looks like Whiskey Brigade has done a slightly better job, though.
Looks like they're doing it right now, actually. I'm following Rixie out, and he's spamming torches like it's candy.
I know from a player's perspective, nighttime can be a great reminder to torch up your side, so. Teams do get a lot of torches, but if you forget to use them, it can be pretty bad. Gramps being chased by a skeleton in the water. He's not wearing armor, so, but I do believe he did retrieve a bunch of iron and diamonds. So I'm not, well, maybe not diamond, but I'm not sure what happened to that. It looked like he was crafting armor earlier. Oh, shot down. Let me take a look at what was in his inventory. Yeah, I do see some diamond and iron blocks. For some reason, he just opted not to craft armor for himself out of that. Yeah, also all those potions. So that stuff is just sitting on the ground, and they're going to want to recover that if they want to get those weapons and armor supplies. Meanwhile, I do see diamond armor, actually, for Whiskey Brigade. Traslander wearing diamond armor. Also see some spawn setting, just a little bit farther up in the map for Whiskey Brigade. Looks like a lot of the lava has been updated on the CB side, but they have already retrieved that wool, to my knowledge, so it will not be a big deal. Don't see any action at the third wall dungeon for the Whiskey Brigade at all. So it looks like they've just been spending their time collecting armor and resources. And of course they got the first wall, Whiskey Brigade did, but yeah, they have yet to touch their second or third wall dungeons. They've sort of stayed near the beginning of the lane. They have provided some great pressure though, keeping the CBs off of their armor. A lot of great PvP pressure to kill Gramps, who's been running resource. They're trying to gather resources for the CBs. Okay, well I do see MK at least has reset his spawn towards the netherrack section at the end of the map. And Nika and MK are hanging out. I'm not sure what exactly they're doing at this part of the map. They may be waiting for Whiskey Brigade in order to apply some PvP pressure on them when they do get down towards the end of the map. Or they may be trying to build a TNT cannon or something. I don't know. Not really sure. But it does look to me like they're just waiting for Whiskey Brigade in order to apply some pressure.
So many pigmen in the nether section.
They've had a lot of time to spawn. Oh, I do hear some action on the Whiskey Brigade side. Looks like Trislander has set up a station in order to apply some PvP pressure and perhaps build a TNT cannon at the second wool dungeon. This the second wool dungeon was a major point of contention in the semifinals match between CBs and Musclecraft. It took quite a while for CBs to finally grab that wool. Someone in my stream commenting that the CBs are probably going to use the zombie pigmen to lock down the third wool dungeon, and I think that is a perfectly valid assessment. I think that's a likely strategy, given that
they did that during the last match as well, if I recall.
Right.
They would occasionally punch them at an inopportune moment and trap a team member or an enemy team member.
Especially given the fact that they've already retrieved the wool, they don't really care that much about accessibility to that wool dungeon. So, yeah, we'll have to see how Whiskey Brigade deals with that when it comes up. Maybe that they're focusing on the third wool in order to try and lock that down and provide themselves enough time to grab the second and first.
Though Nika is heading to the top of the volcano, possibly to interdict anyone who attempts to run it on the Whiskey Brigade side.
Yep, still absolutely no action on the second wool dungeon for either team. Just a little bit curious.
They could be waiting for supplies.
I've seen a lot of armor for Whiskey Brigade, so I'm a little bit. I would think that they would have tried it by now. I'm not sure what exactly they're up to. They are providing some really good PvP pressure, like I've said. I think CBs have had a hard time trying to make their way down the map. Still, a lot of the map is unlit for the CBs because I think a lot of them have died with their torches, but unable to recover them.
And I think they lost a lot of supplies when their brick tower was TNT'd.
Also true. Now, I'm a little bit curious what happened to all that iron and diamond that Gramps was carrying. It looks like I see a chest that has at least 24 iron ingots, and there may be more elsewhere. I haven't really seen any iron or diamond armor for the CBs, though.
Yeah, almost all the supplies are at the very beginning.
Are you guys watching second wool right now?
I'm almost to it.
Alright. I believe it's Traz. He is using the knockback sign on the silverfish blocks to knock the silverfish to the other lane.
Yes, I see.
And they're setting off the other ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but a lot of them are just falling out of the map.
But
that is quite clever, I gotta say. For some reason, they're just not. Wow. Wow. I had no idea you could do that. That is hilarious. Very ingenious use of the knockback sign and the silverfish from Brigade.
Yeah, it seems that every time we see Whiskey Brigade, they do something really clever, like the gas turret or the initial sign jump.
I get the feeling that by the time anyone gets down here for the CBs, a lot of these silverfish will have either despawned or just fallen off the map because there's such a huge number of them and they're kind of pushing each other off. But it is also helping the Whiskey Brigade get through that part of the silverfish, but it's very clever. I'm a little bit surprised that silverfish wait until they've already gotten to the other side in order to sort of wake up their allies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's very interesting. Looks like Traslander may be continuing down the second wool dungeon to make his way through it.
Yeah, they are pretty much prepped last time I was listening to them. It is actually kind of funny watching the silverfish fly.
Yeah. Wow. It's quite hilarious. It's kind of a shame to see all these silverfish just knocking themselves off. But a lot of them are going to stick around, I think. Especially because Traslander is going to keep them from despawning. He's just close enough that they're going to stick around for a while, I think. But CBs have come nowhere near this dungeon, so maybe a while.
My Minecraft just crashed.
They were talking about it a minute ago, and seeing if they were ready for it. I know they're trying to lock down third wool at this point, which is what we've seen them do in the past. So that will be a hassle for Whiskey Brigade, I think, in the future. But for now, it seems like they're just going to try to keep working on other wools.
Whiskey Brigade is actually at the top of the volcano right now.
Nice.
Let's see, who is this? This is Jakash wearing iron armor, full iron armor. Now, making his way down, he is going to take a lot of fall damage, and he also may take... Well, he may not take fall damage. He may be able to make his way through. They have updated the... I think intentionally they have updated the lava. The teams are given fire protection potions in some chests, and so they can make their way through this lava, and some teams have been planning on doing that. But we also have seen Musclecraft try to do that, and they just eventually lost all their fire protection potions, just had no way to grab that wool. So we'll have to see how this turns out. Yeah, I agree that it's pretty risky. But in the face of PvP action, it may just not be possible to make your way down without employing this strategy. So
it's like Trez finally ran into some PvP resistance, as Gramps and Solitary Wolf are right above the entrance to the second wool dungeon.
The silverfish actually seem to have spread out a little bit.
yeah.
They're patrolling back and forth.
Silverfish climbing up water. Oh, it's drowning though.
Dyer_dwarf moved to lane number 2.
Unfortunately, because of all the lava, I can't really see what's going on inside, and I can't really tell how Jakash is doing in terms of making progress. I don't think I'll be able to catch a glimpse of him. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think I will head over to the second wall dungeon and check out the action there. It seems to be sort of the focal point right now.
Yeah, Traz is just about to get down to the second to last turn.
Well, Gramps is also sort of making his way down. I think he's just spotted all the silverfish, and he's probably a little bit confused about them, but he is making his way down. Oh, very risky. He has just jumped down into the silverfish. He could have easily fallen off there with all the mobs pushing him around. Trying to build a little bit of a barrier for himself. But he may get pushed. Yep. Just as I was saying it, he got pushed off the edge of the walkway there, and and he died. Now these cobblestone blocks will actually act as sponges for the silverfish, interestingly, I believe. All right. Actually, don't see Traslander anymore.
I'm right behind him. He is sort of behind the lava curtain. He placed a sign down. Oh,
okay.
He accidentally placed the knockback sign down. But Dean Chan said...
He may not need it anymore anyway, but that yeah, that may have been it probably was unintentional on his part.
Usually you see like the sign placed and then it says like EW and stuff like that on it.
Yeah, Traslander now trying to make his way across this portion of the map is very difficult. There are a lot of mobs that will spawn, and it can be quite hard to block them off.
Yeah, last time we saw I think it was
poison from the cave spiders.
We saw Musclecraft use a fairly interesting strategy of dropping TNT and having it destroy the spawners with a sort of a cannon that pushed it in and then pushed it over.
Right, yeah, that was very clever. Now, there's a full set of iron armor on the ground for the CBs in the second world dungeon. A lot of the time when that happens, we will see the person who lost the supplies just trying to sprint back, just make their way back through, like ignoring all the mobs and everything, trying to get those supplies. And a lot of the times we'll see that fail. So we'll see if CB falls into that trap or not. But I think that iron armor is probably a lost cause for now, and the CBs will have to re-equip other armor if they want to attempt that dungeon again.
Looking at the kill scroll, Gramps was shot by Segoy, indicating that Segoy may be back at spawn trying to stop anybody from coming back.
Segoy is in the marshy area. So now teams have set their spawn a bit, so yeah, it's hard to... I'm not sure where all the spawns are set right now. I like that the CBs have... Sorry, this is Whiskey Brigade. I like that Whiskey Brigade has created a cobblestone pathway across the water at the beginning. Trying to swim through or use the boats can be very slow, and I definitely like this sort of increased pathfinding ability. Actually, taking a look at my chat logs, thanks to one of the viewers in the stream for pointing this out, Jakash was shot while he was attempting the third wool dungeon. So he probably lost one of the fire protection potions. Hopefully not more. But this can turn out really problematic for Whiskey Brigade if they are not able to find a way to make their way through this lava. Some great PvP pressure from CBs, and their plan to lock down the third wall may work out. This is very similar to the semifinals match that we saw, where one team had grabbed the orange wool, one team had grabbed the
Detroit moved in from
not
route
cyan,
by
green, I think, wool, and there was just a standoff to see who could get the other wool first, and it turned out that the lava was just insurmountable once you lost all your fire potions. So yeah, we'll have to see. Alright, I see blazes spawned at the bottom of the second wool dungeon, which likely means that Treslander is somewhere nearby to that bottom.
Yeah, he's in this little soulstone thing he's built, dropping TNT, so I believe he is going to try to take out those spawners with TNT.
Yep.
Oh, that's
looks
brilliant.
like he is using a bit of a sort of a directional cannon to try and... Oh, wow!
What?
That is impressive.
That's awesome.
They have figured out how to time 4 TNT in order to... This is great. In order to basically use 2 TNT to knock 2 other TNT into the gap, and then one of those TNT knocks the other one towards the spawners. It's very, very impressive use of TNT.
And they are actually taking the time to make sure they have at least one blaze spawner left alive if they can help it. That way they can harvest all the blaze powder they need in order to make more fire resistance potions. Yeah, they're coordinating on this.
That's very clever, because there is like a brewing stand and stuff that allows the players to brew their own potions. So that's very clever of them to make sure that they have the capability of doing that. I love this TNT, this use of TNT though. Excellent. So good. They have taken out all but one spawner in
I think it's an enderman spawner.
This area. What?
The only thing left is an enderman spawner, I believe.
Which is not too threatening. Of course, there's still some mobs left here, so I imagine he'll want to really make sure he can't see the spawners. Treslander can't see the spawners here, so he's gonna want to just make sure that the spawners are all gone before he does anything. Now one of the blazes attacking him a little bit, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, he is sufficiently geared up and everything, so I think he'll be just fine.
I'm not sure if blazes can destroy soul sand. Actually, I believe that. I'm not sure if blazes can destroy soul sand with their fireballs. Treslander able to take out that blaze, so he will do just fine. I believe Treslander should be able to safely grab this wool, unless we see some unexpected pressure from the CBs.
_dwarf moved to lane number 1.
Sort of a summary of what's happened so far. The Whiskey Brigade has provided a lot of PvP pressure and has gathered a lot of resources, and they seem a little bit better geared up. Whiskey Brigade has grabbed the first cyan wool from their dungeon, whereas the CBs have not grabbed that first wool. Second wool is obtained by neither team, although Traslander looks like he's about to grab that second wool. That is probably the most difficult dungeon, although we do now see the CBs attempting to make their way back down, wearing some iron and diamond armor. Third wool has been obtained by the CBs, and the CBs have successfully locked down that third wool so far. And Whiskey Brigade has failed in an attempt to grab that third wool, but I think that they have a plan in mind to grab it, so we'll have to see how that works out for them.
Traz has just picked up the second wall.
He still needs to make his way back up, but that is not nearly as hard as clearing out that dungeon to begin with. So
yeah, and the CBs haven't made it past that spot where Gramps fell.
But they do have that gear to do it, although facing some PvP pressure may be too much for them. We'll have to see. Nika standing on top of a bunch of leaves at the volcano, third wool dungeon. I'm not sure if these leaves can be set on fire by the lava, but it'd be pretty hilarious to see him just fall down because of the leaves. But I don't think that's actually going to happen. Alright, second night is approaching. Once again, teams will have a chance to reset their spawn, but more mobs will be spawning, and I think CBs still have yet to light up some large portions of their side. Although, I should note that Whiskey Brigade also has failed to light up a lot of their the netherrack section towards the volcano, and so a lot of mobs are going to be spawning there, and that is somewhere where they will need to be going. They're going to be focusing on that part of the map pretty soon here. Let's see, who is this? Segoy has barricaded himself in at the second wool dungeon and successfully shot down Solitary Wolf, who was trying to make his way further along in the second wool dungeon. I expect to see some very, very serious PvP pressure from Whiskey Brigade, probably including some TNT cannons, as we move forward. I think they're definitely going to try and lock down the second wool, because that is basically the wool dungeon that they're able to lock down, and that is easiest to lock down at this point.
Traz is having some creeper trouble. He was almost up, and then a creeper took out his entire spiral staircase, and he fell down back to the last rung of the second wall.
Yeah, there's another creeper here right next to him. But he has barricaded himself in. He probably recovered all his hit points. And let's see, Solitary Wolf. Like I mentioned before, he was making his way back down to try and grab his armor and stuff before it despawned. But he is not wearing anything, and I think he has 2 people shooting at him from Whiskey Brigade.
There are so many pigmen out here on the 2 volcanoes that they can now be classified as a weapon of mass destruction.
Solitary Wolf opted to suicide. He jumped out of the world.
I suspect he may have been out of blocks. And was like, nothing I can do about that.
But he was able to sort of block out a lot of the mobs that were spawning in sort of the second run of the second world dungeon. There's a lot of mob spawners above these signs here. Fresliner continuing to make his way back up. Sorry, what was that?
I'm waiting for someone to set off this pigmen nuke. There are literally like probably 100 pigmen out here, spread against both sides.
Well, probably we'll see CBs do that when Whiskey Brigade does attempt to make their way back up. There are quite a few pigmen, and pigmen can deal a lot of damage very quickly, especially in large groups.
Dyer_dwarf moved to lane number 1.
Yeah, I still see a lot of portions of both lanes that are not very well lit up, so of course both teams do have a bit of armor, so they may be able to deal with that.
Traz only has 1 full turn to go before he gets the second wall out of the bedrock area.
Checking on the first dungeon, I still see no action from the CB's side. Looks like it's completely untouched. So CB's still only have the third wall. They have been making slow progress on the second wall, but they're going to be facing a lot of PvP pressure, I suspect, very soon.
If I remember right, they got the first wall last in the last game as well.
Yeah. That's something you'll often see, just go for the easiest wall last before, because you need to get the outer walls before the other team is able to provide serious PvP pressure. Trislander using a mixture of blocks to make his way back up. He's back up. I haven't seen any wool placed, but I suspect they will place some wool down pretty soon, so that if one of them dies with the wool, it won't be the end of the world. Yes, I have seen some lime green wool placed now for Whiskey Brigade. So Whiskey Brigade has 2 wools, nice and safe, and I imagine they're now coordinating for their attack on the 3rd wool. I'm willing to bet that they'll leave behind 1 or 2 players at the 2nd wool to lock it down, and perhaps again attempt some TNT cannons.
See if there's been any approaches on the volcano.
Haven't seen anything recently. Alright, I see a bunch of mobs clustering up, which can only indicate that there's a player nearby. At the 2nd wall dungeon for the CBs. Although I don't see any. Maybe behind... I'm not sure. Solitary Wolf is geared back up in some iron and gold armor. And it looks like he's going to be attempting the 2nd wall dungeon one more time. See if he's a little bit more successful this time. Trislander is providing some cover. He's wearing diamond armor. I also see Gramps here at the marsh area above the 2nd wall dungeon. See some TNT being placed. I'm not sure if this is... Yeah, it looks like that was just to get up on top of the trees at the marsh area. Not really sure why they're trying to gain so much ground. So much height, that is. But the CBs are, I guess, trying to put on some PvP pressure, or maybe they're just trying to go around the marsh area because it has so many mobs spawned in it.
Yeah, it looks like Nika and MK are waiting in the lava section or the volcano section for anyone to show up, and no one seems to have done so recently.
They're expending a lot of player resources on that, and they're not expending that on other parts of the map, so it may hinder their ability to actually obtain the 2nd wool while giving time for Whiskey Brigade to sort of entrench themselves. Although I don't see anyone from Whiskey Brigade actually at the 2nd wall right now.
Yeah, I'm finding this odd. I'm actually looking for them, like, where are they?
Okay, never mind. There is actually... Trislander is at the 2nd wall, providing some arrow fire. Gramps also wearing a little bit of chain and iron armor. And once again, Solitary Wolf with some iron and chain. Bit more geared up. I believe Solitary is going to make his run on the dungeon. But Gramps and Solitary are trying to team up to take out Trislander and get rid of the suppressing fire. I'd be willing to guess that Trislander has probably set his spawn in this area at the 2nd wall dungeon, so even if he does die, he'll be able to just grab his armor again. And again, Segoy has also sort of entrenched himself in the 2nd wall dungeon. So that is 2 team members wearing full diamond armor, and Solitary Wolf once again committing suicide.
And you can see their supply disparity here.
Yeah.
Gramps isn't wearing any pants. I believe one of the team member over here was wearing iron except for their pants, which was chain.
Yeah. I see some iron armor, some extra iron armor for that Solitary Wolf was wearing before he committed suicide for CBs, but the next day, the 3rd day is about to start, and so teams again won't be able to set their spawn. But they also may face a little bit less mob pressure. And it may be that that's what Whiskey Brigade is waiting for. They don't want the mob pressure as they try and make their way onto the third wall. Still don't see anyone from Whiskey Brigade attempting that third wall. Yeah. I bet Dire Dwarf has some juicy details of what Whiskey Brigade is up to right now. But we'll just have to wait for him to come back. Alright, Whiskey Brigade has grabbed the first 2 wolves, and the CBs have grabbed the third wool. So it's sort of inverted scenario, although CBs probably won't have too much trouble grabbing the first one.
Looks like Traslander might be prepping a cannon here. He just placed a lever down.
Love to see that, so I will check that out as well.
Unless it's just for something to do while he's waiting.
Right.
Just flip it back and forth.
This is what I'm talking about. Having so many, having half of your team at the volcano, not actually doing anything, just waiting around, while your teammates are trying to go for that wool, and just not being able to apply enough PvP pressure has given Whiskey Brigade enough time to set up their cannon, and this cannon, I can imagine being quite devastating. They'll be able to unlock a lot of the mob spawners. Let's see, they did not actually manage to open up any of the mob spawning on...
It looks like the timing was a little too short.
Yeah.
And then he may have accidentally been shot into his own cannon.
Misfire, yes. So that'll put an end to that cannon. Solitary Wolf has made it a bit farther down into the second... He's on the 3rd rung of the second wall dungeon. But it only gets harder from here. This is his first time reaching this area. There are some mob spawners here.
And of course, being the second team there, everything just gets overflowed with mob.
Right. Solitary Wolf actually facing some PvE problems, not able to make it past the 3rd rung of the dungeon. So again, he lost a bunch of supplies. You see he was carrying some potions and some TNT, and of course that armor, and a water bucket too. So, he may have been planning to use TNT in a similar way to Whiskey Brigade, and there is a finite amount of TNT on this map. Solitary Wolf, once again, like I was talking about earlier, just trying to blitz his way down to grab those supplies. Looks like he will make it though, and yeah, he has made it back up. He's grabbed his supplies. I think these spawners are probably disabled because of the torch here. Well, not all of them, but he's put his armor back on, and I think he will be able to continue making progress here. Strangely, no PvP pressure from Whiskey Brigade, really. They may have been caught out of position, and they actually may not be aware that Solitary Wolf is down there.
He made it back there really quickly, so maybe they were like, hey, he's dead. We can look away for 40 seconds.
Right. I think Gramps was providing some PvP cover on the second wall dungeon. This will now free up the Whiskey Brigade to take a look around, and I do believe that they have spotted Solitary Wolf.
They definitely have, and now he's on fire.
Oh my.
Ooh.
Yeah. Still some...
You could tell he was looking at his inventory for that water bucket.
Yeah. Still some of these silverfish in this area at the second wall dungeon on the CB side. Alright, I'm going to go check. It does look... I see a diamond armor wearing person on the last wall dungeon for Whiskey Brigade. He is leaving the volcano for some reason. I'm not sure what his purpose was. It's Segoy. Looks like he is just shooting... Oh my. What a dangerous game they're playing. Segoy, I think, accidentally...
He may have been aiming for MK and
yeah, he was aiming for MK in the middle of a bunch of pigmen. And
did he make it out? I don't see that he's died.
I'm a little confused actually. I saw him fall and then he just disappeared.
He may have had an ender pearl.
Where he went. That's a good point.
He ender pearled away.
Did he... Where did he go?
He's at the sort of start of the nether section.
Okay. Interesting. So, he may have angered the pigmen and in the hopes of trying to kill the players on the CB side, and may have worked.
No one was killed by a pigman.
Yeah, you're right.
MK is pretty well walled off. I'm not sure about Nika. I think he may be too high and too far away for those pigmen to get angered, because it's all the pigmen in the same chunk or something like that. I'm not sure the true specifics of what's angered.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Solitary Wolf taken down once again, attempting that second wool dungeon. I expect to see this happen a couple more times. But he does appear to be making a little bit more progress each time. And you know, the fact that that dungeon is the lane is 2 blocks wide there actually does give them some room to create some cover, which will allow them to get back into the dungeon if they want. Although TNT cannons may provide some hindrance there.
It looks like everything seems to be slowing down a little bit as teams try to push things forward.
Well, I actually... That's interesting. There is a tunnel sort of underneath the netherrack in the back of the lane for Whiskey Brigade. So they may be sneakily moving in on that wool dungeon. I think they probably prepared this ahead of time, so they knew exactly what they had to do. And yeah, there's a big staircase leading up to Volcano.
And they should still have their fishing rod of efficiency 5, efficiency 6, something like that. It mines their netherrack like it's not there.
Jakash just surfaced out of lava. So that is all 3 wolves. As long as he gets it out of the netherrack zone, that should be all 3 for Whiskey Brigade.
So did he use a fire protection potion to make his way through?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching reverse Terminator 2.
So the Sequoia thing could have been a the Sequoia thing could have been a distraction. Ooh, Jakash was killed by a zombie pigman.
Yeah, they were. Cockblockers were talking about setting those off if it came down to it.
So Jakash was the one carrying the wool, right?
Yeah, he had the orange wool. He has placed a few outside the volcano though, so it's already safe. It's just a matter of time now.
Let's see. Did he do a pass around? Is that or?
Looks like he walked it all the way up.
I don't see the orange wool. But
It's inside the tunnel there.
I see.
They're back, or not in the back, but it's actually right below. It's kind of hard to explain. It's there.
I see some orange wool actually at the very top also. Yep. So very good progress for Whiskey Brigade. Things are not looking good for the CBs. They are still having a very hard time at the second wool dungeon. They've lost a lot of armor at this point. And a bunch of TNT going off, actually. It looks like Solitary Wolf was perhaps trying to create a Chaos Cannon. I'm not actually sure what happened there. I just caught the end of that. But he is wearing some chain and iron armor, so he's not completely ungeared here. Making his way farther down the dungeon, he's about to hit the second to last rung of the dungeon, where there's a bunch of silverfish. I think he has been lit on fire, perhaps? That's what it sounds like to me. No, the silverfish were lit on fire.
Dotted_dwarf moved to lane number 1.
So Solitary Wolf is making some progress, but he's gonna have to be pretty quick if he wants to beat the Whiskey Brigade. And I do believe that the first wool is still untouched by CBs.
I will double check that.
I just looked. It's It's still there, still untouched. Wool blocks is unscathed. Oop, just heard some TNT. I believe it was a chaos or some sort of cannon.
Looks like the CB's Victory Monument has also been taken down a peg by a TNT cannon.
Kind of curious what that looks like.
It's a pretty interesting layout too.
Oh yeah. So the Victory Monument is sort of now a floating island. I mean, it's still not that hard to make your way up that by just towering up, but
you are more exposed to enemy fire because the last game we had on here, it was so close. Both teams were making it up the monument at the same time.
Yeah, but Whiskey Brigade did have to take a bit of time to actually build that cannon, so it's an interesting move from Whiskey Brigade. But they love making interesting moves, so.
So I see Segoy heading towards the Victory Monument. I don't know if he has all of the wolves or not.
Alright, well, Solitary Wolf is now in the second to last rung of that second dungeon. Sort of slowly working his way down. He's not really facing any pressure from Whiskey Brigade, which may indicate that Whiskey Brigade feels confident that they've won the game. Oh, no, Traslander is building a TNT cannon. So, they're not giving up, or they're not ending quite yet. Oh, but looks like MK did place the last wool.
No.
He did not. Okay. He just said GG for no reason.
No wolves have been placed, or maybe he knows what's going on.
Preemptive. Cyan, lime green, and orange.
There we go.
That is it. Whiskey Brigade has won the tournament. They'll be getting the little sandstone figures from Mind Toys. Very cool.
I don't think any sandstone figure will be able to capture Rixiot's eyebrows.
Well, I think there's no doubt that Whiskey Brigade earned that win. Very, very well played game. For both teams, but Whiskey Brigade blew me away with some of the strategies they employed. And they definitely had their strategy together. Very, very well played.
Author Blues centered channel.
And now I hear zombies beating down the door.
Yeah, so once again, Whiskey Brigade has won the tournament. CB's come in second. Now, there has been some talk of a showdown match between the winners of the first tournament and the second tournament. So we'll have to see if the Redstoners end up playing Whiskey Brigade, but nothing has been finalized, so we'll have to see. I think once Stardorf gets back in here, we will probably pull in a member of each team for a little post-game interview.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we saw a lot of clever stuff. Actually, we'll wait till they're in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got them lined up. I can pull them in when you guys are ready.
We are ready.
Awesome, I'll grab them right now.
Nikon 244 moved in from Levy by Dyer _dwarf.
Hey, Nika and Traz.
Traslander to move in from
Hello.
Dwarf.
Hello.
JCLL entered channel.
So congratulations, Whiskey Brigade.
Thank you. Good game.
Condolences to Cockblockers.
Yep. Good job.
So it
I
seems
wish
like
we'd
every
gotten a better map pool.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh. So you didn't like the choices that were presented to you?
We're more of a PvP team, and it ended up not being any PvP maps, so that was kind of a moral depleter.
I see.
But oh well, good game.
Yeah, for those of you watching that are unaware how that works, the teams were presented with three choices of maps that were chosen randomly from a pool, and each team got to veto one and then veto another, and basically each team vetoed one, and they were different maps, and this was the map that was left over after the vetoes. So I guess yeah.
I tend to think of Race for Wool as more of competitive PvE, and you just have to work around the resources and the materials and how to run the dungeons. And with the PvP mix, which we also PvP'd the crap out of you.
Oh, a little bit of trash talk. But,
No, I think this is the third very clever thing we've seen from Whiskey Brigade. You had the gas turret, the sign jumping, and now using the sign to push Silverfish across the lane.
Yeah, that was very clever. I'm not sure if the CBs fully appreciate what happened there, but
Didn't even know
Whiskey
about
Brigade, yeah, Whiskey Brigade used a sign to break Silverfish blocks and then push the Silverfish all the way across the lane and actually awaken other Silverfish from the CB side.
I believe that's what killed one of the cock blockers as they first got into that dungeon.
It killed both Gramps and Solitary, I believe.
Yeah, they go in there with the most armor and stuff on the first run, and the Silverfish surprise. They call for help after you hit them, after 2 seconds. So when you hit them, they call for help over there, and it's great. I figured that out a week ago.
Silverfish surprise sounds delicious.
Yeah, I was definitely very surprised. I didn't know that Silverfish worked that way. So really, really innovative use. I love to see that in Race for the Wool.
I did see you guys actually, or heard actually, not really seen, saw the gassed egg being set off early. I think you might have been trying to freak people out. I don't know, but either way, I heard that.
A bit of that. That fishing pole has looting 3 or looting 10 on it, or 5 or something. So you can kill the ghast with it and get a bunch of ghast tiers.
Oh.
What would you use the gas tiers for?
Regeneration potions. You could also kill the blaze that's in the ghast eggs to get blaze rods for more blaze powder and backup blaze rods for brewing stands and stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely one thing that was interesting, was listening to the Whiskey Brigaders talking about collecting different supplies like ender pearls and blaze powder and all that stuff. You guys were very working together to make sure you had enough for the fire resistance potions.
Now, I'm a little bit curious, because the CBs did recently play this map. Did Whiskey Brigade, did you watch that footage a lot? Do you feel like you gained a lot of insight into their strategy by doing that? And similarly, CBs, did you try and modify your strategy because you didn't want to be predictable? I guess let's start with CBs.
Well, we have a really tight schedule, kind of, with people, Chris being at work not only on every day except for Sunday and Monday, and so it's hard to practice when Avery's got work, I got work, MK does stuff, and it's kind of hard to practice in that kind of time frame. So we didn't have really much time to modify our strategy,
especially
that
for
much.
2 maps.
Yeah, so it was like, it would have been better to practice more, I guess, but so we could have revised our strategy. But I feel like things went wrong. Where the sign, it just seemed to not work for us, and that got rid of our fishing pole. So we had to go across the soul sand, and the soul sand glitch with the vines makes so you get stuck in the block. You need to break the block underneath you to move, and that was really hindering to us as we tried to walk across it. So
yeah, the damn soul sand.
Well, what about you, Whiskey Brigade? Did you study that footage a lot? Did you come up with any specific counters to strategies that CBs were going to employ?
Well, we just expected that they might change it up and do something a bit different. But beyond that, just kind of expected the unexpected. And one thing we saw is that both teams had that sign screw up on them at the beginning of that one match. And kind of figured out it was probably because they were standing up high when the person down low was hitting them, and that might be it. It's weird, but it seemed to work better when they're just both standing on a flat surface, and the sign with the knockback seemed to work better.
Oh, it's like the opposite for us. It seemed to work a lot better when it was on top of one of the blocks, but I kept getting shot off of the block that I was standing on, so I had to go lower, and it seemed to not work then.
I just ran and dashed it into Sugoi when he was standing there and knocked some over.
All right. Well, I'll ask each team if there's any part of your strategy that you think that the commentators may have missed that you were particularly proud of. Of course, now that the tournament's over, you don't have to worry about revealing your strategies. So, I guess I'll start with the CBs.
I don't think we had very exclusive strategies. I mean, the rush for third it worked both times. That was nice. I guess we need a new strategy for second wool, because both times we got messed up on that one. Yeah, we really don't have any like groundbreaking things that we do on that map.
Well, what about you, Whiskey Brigade?
Well, there's the 8 stack of TNT in the beginning that I used to grab to blow up the diamond blocks at the base of the ore area. And then you saw the first wall thing, probably twice now. Chakash did it this time. And then the second wall run. Oh, and the dig around behind the mountain. Yeah, we decided to just go for like a second wall lockdown and then just tunnel around to the volcano.
Right. Yeah, that's actually it's actually kind of similar to our strategy in the finals of the first Reddit Minecraft tournament, where we try to lock down the second wall and just use the obsidian floor to get to sort of safely work our way around. So it's interesting that a similar sort of thing worked. I guess this map is similar enough to direct fire that's the way it goes.
For the first wall, we actually did have a strategy, and I hope my team doesn't hate me for giving it away. They shouldn't. But in the rules, it says that once the other team breaks or blows up their wall box, you have perfect right to blow it up again. So we were thinking, hey, they'll blow it up, their wall will be all out, and we shoot a cannon inside their wall and blow it up completely. So we actually devised a cannon that would hit right inside of the wall, right where the wall landed. And it pretty much worked every time, but we didn't have time to do it because of all the sign messed ups. So I feel like if we had actually done that, the game would have definitely been different.
That is quite interesting. That would have been interesting to see, and it could have really locked down the game for you.
Well, I mean, if they couldn't complete the victory monument, that would be a instant victory.
Well,
Yeah,
not
complete
instant
shutdown.
because
No.
you can still shut out the other team for 2 hours, and
Oh yeah, I guess.
and there's sort of a tiebreaker at the end. But yeah, that would have been interesting to see. But it's a very small timing window, and of course with PvP pressure, it's never easy to pull off that sort of timing.
No, it's not.
Well, unless you guys have any final words.
Rixiat, I love your eyebrows.
Oh, Rixiat. Yeah, I'm curious. Do you feel like the sandstone sculpture will really be able to capture Rixiat's eyebrows, or is that just child's play? Not child's play. Fool's errand. That's the one.
I don't know. The Ninja Monkey Dog did that for just kind of randomly. He's kind of more the artist, and he's kind of part of our team for as any kind of spare on Champions of the Map stuff. And it was kind of a surprise to the four of us. Honestly, it was great.
All right. Well, congratulations to Whiskey Brigade. You'll be getting your mindtoys.com sandstone avatar figures of all your players, and a reminder to everyone, you can use the promo code LUVREDDIT. It's on the screen right now. I love Reddit for $5 off your order. So mindtoys.com. Once again, thanks to them for sponsoring it, and congratulations to Whiskey Brigade. Condolences to CBs, but well played also to you guys. You guys did very well in the tournament and played really well. So
Can
well
we
done.
play some Outbox?
I think that may be getting underway. I'm not sure.
Seth, do you want to take a moment and talk a little bit about the open house that's going on next week? They're going to have information posted on rmct.tv coming up shortly, but do you want to mention anything about that?
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's in
2 weeks.
That is in 2
Okay.
weeks, right?
Ignore
So
me,
yeah, there's
sorry.
going to be a Race for Wool 101
Average
event
and
sort of
English
thing. Actually, there's some people in my stream saying the promo code isn't working, but I'm not really sure what's up with that. But yeah, there's an event in 2 weeks that is going to be sort of like a Race for the Wool open house RMCT class sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's going to, if you are new to the format or want to learn more or want to improve your skills, play some practice matches, there's going to be an event in 2 weeks, and there's going to be more information posted on the rmct.tv website about that, and I'm going to be there too. probably going to be streaming a lot of it. That may be when the Redstoners versus Whiskey Brigade show-off match, showdown, whatever, happens, if that does happen.
We have a few more people attending as well. MC Gamer is going to be there. Gleason, Brian, Crafted Movie will be there.
I signed up the other day too.
Right.
Dyer will be there for anyone who really wants to see Dyer in person and get their picture taken with him.
Wait, what? Oh God, what did I sign up for?
But yes, there's going to be, again, more information about that posted on rmct.tv. That should be really cool. There's also new. I've been told to sort of promote this. There's a new Champions of the map starting up for Direct Fire. That was the map that the first Reddit Minecraft tournament was played on. So you can go to reddit.com/r/champions of the map, and there's some more information there about that. But that's going to be starting up very soon. I think tomorrow is when the information is getting posted. That should be pretty cool too. Okay, well that will do it for the second Reddit Minecraft tournament. Thanks again to all the referees and CoStar for letting us use the server. Thanks to MindToys.com for sponsoring. And I think, is there going to be a match on Outbox Blade in honor of CoStar?
I think so. It says cycling through the map, so...
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. I think I'm going to kill my recording, and I'll keep live streaming for the Outbox.
Alright, thanks Dyer for streaming. Thanks Seth for streaming. Thanks Stu for streaming. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Similarly, I'm going to kill the recording now. Thanks for watching.